Welcome back to the Shot Callers podcast, where we call all the shots. We're here to talk about the NBA and nothing but the NBA. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss anything. Ladies, gentlemen, and ballers, Bradley Beal's not been traded. It's on day 4. Yesterday was day 3, and we did not make a video. Yesterday was MLK Day. Shout out to Martin Luther King Jr. and all that he did for this country. Shout out to all the activists who are helping out the African American community out there. Like I said, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, so you never miss a beat. But with that said, let's get into the 1/18/21 games, or better known as yesterday's games. Today we're going to be talking about the Nets and the Bucks, after the Raptors and the Mavericks, the Bulls and the Rockets, the Warriors and Lakers, the Knicks and the Mavericks, and lastly the Grizzlies versus Suns. But without further ado, let's get this thing started. So the Nets versus the Bucks. That was a very fun game to watch. If you did not tune into that game, man, you missed out. It was very good. It was a back and forth battle between them. Giannis put up 34 points. Harden put up 32. KD put up 30. Something like that. Maybe it wasn't 32. But it was a battle. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton contributed about 20, 25 points each. And Joe Harris was playing great, sniping away. Speaking of Joe Harris, I think he's going underrated as an all-around offensive player and not just being a spot-up shooter. I think he deserves more credit for that. But looking at that game, DeAndre Jordan played better. Of all the things I said about him last video, DeAndre Jordan did play better. He had like 12 and 12. The energy was there. The defense sometimes was there. A lot of times it's still off. We're not expecting him to be good or anything, but if he can at least be passable or at least just barely subpar, I think they can get away with that. And DeAndre Jordan definitely showed up. The putback dunks were there. The crashing on the offensive glass was there. DJ definitely had a better game. Shout out to Jeff Green, though. Jeff Green's season is here. He's up to big in this game. He shot like 4 for 5 from the three-point line. And if Jeff Green can be that sniper in the playoffs, whew, because that small ball lineup they have with putting Jeff Green at the 5 at the end of games, that could be deadly. So I'd like to see that. So we're going to continue talking about the Nets. We'll go to the Bucks after. The unselfishness from KD and Harden shows again how those two can play very well together. I'm tired of the narrative that James Harden dribbles too much, yada, yada, yada. Bro, he is an elite playmaker who can get his own bucket at any time. I think it showed because his belief in Joe Harris and Kevin Durant, because I remember it was about a minute left and he passed to Joe Harris for a 3, which I think put him up 1, and then at like 45 seconds ish, he took his own shot, got his own board back, kicked it to KD, and KD hit a 3. It was a really big shot. So the unselfishness between those two and Kevin Durant's leadership is going under the radar right already through this season. But who else? Reggie Perry played very well for his role. Not Sterling Brown. Man, the other Brown guy. I don't feel like looking up his name right now, but he contributed pretty well. And overall, this is just a really good win for the Nets, considering the fact that James Harden is only there for 2 games now. They haven't practiced much, and Kyrie's still not there. Like, think about this. They just beat the Bucks without Kyrie. That's scary, and that's scary for the NBA. Now, I kind of more want to talk about the Bucks on the standpoint of it makes me nervous, not the fact that they lost, because I think the Bucks played an impressive game, but it makes me nervous that if Coach Bud does not learn to adjust in the playoffs, I promise you they will not beat the Nets, and here's why. I was getting very frustrated watching the same thing over and over again, watching Brook Lopez play paint on pick and rolls scenarios, and just letting James Harden and Kevin Durant just have floaters and mid-range pull-ups. I was just getting so frustrated because Coach Bud has had this issue where he does not adjust when it's time to, when he needs to. And watching Brook Lopez not step up on, at least put a hand up, or at least get a better contest on those floaters and pull-up jump shots, I'm just thinking to myself, if they do this in the playoffs, they will, like I promise you, they will not win. So that was a big thing. Giannis played a great game. But another big thing, Giannis, I'm trying to figure out why Giannis was not guarding Kevin Durant in the fourth quarter. I thought that was a great opportunity for him to do that, and I thought it would have been a smart move. that's another big thing. Giannis needs to guard the best player on the team, and that was Kevin Durant. And it makes sense for him to guard Kevin Durant. So that was a bit confusing. I think a lot of people are questioning that, and it's not just me. So if Coach Bud doesn't, I don't think, figures those two things out when it comes to playing the Nets, if they face them in the playoffs, I truly don't see a scenario where they can win. Because at the end of the day, whatever you get from Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday can easily be countered by James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie on a much greater scale on top of that. Now, I think the X factor for this team is in the playoffs. If Dante DiVincenzo can come, and I'm going to keep repeating this throughout the season, if Dante DiVincenzo can show up big and just put up about like 18 to 20 points in the playoffs on good efficiency, that could really help them. At the end of the game, though, Giannis was open up down the block. Chris Middleton made himself for like a contested three-pointer. I saw Giannis open. I think he knew it too. You could very tell he was visibly frustrated, but overall, that was just a really good game. You cannot complain about that, NBA fans. So I'm looking forward to that matchup again, definitely later in the season. But there's not much for me to talk about. I think Mike D'Antoni, being an assistant coach, is going under the radar, and the narrative that James Harden dribbles too much is flying out the window quickly because he is playing for his teammates in Brooklyn, and I like seeing that. But next, let's talk about the Raptors and the Mavericks. So this was just your typical Toronto Raptors gritty win. I mean, played great defense on Luka Doncic. Stanley Johnson and some OG Anunoby. Stanley Johnson was putting Luka Doncic in a straight bird box. I mean, Luka still, I think, probably had a triple-double, though, I'm pretty sure. But he shot like 20% from the field. Like, Stanley Johnson was boxing him, bro. He was playing great individual defense and not letting him get the ball back for, I think it was the majority of that, at least the first half. And shout out to Stanley Johnson because he's been picking it up. And I think that's what he's going to find in the NBA that works for him, is that he might not be what people thought when they drafted him, the Pistons drafted him for, but if he can just be a 3-and-D forward, like that, a big, bulky power forward, he can really find his stint in the NBA. And I think the Raptors are a very good team for that. Shout out to Chris Boucher, too. Has anybody actually realized the fact that man's been on a tear recently? I mean, he's been playing amazing basketball. I mean, he's been playing better than Pascal Siakam if you really look into it. Now, for his role, he has been, but I really want to see Chris Boucher start instead of this Aaron Baines 3 minutes, pull him for the rest of the game crap. Just start Chris Boucher, bro. He deserves it. That man is a freaking beast. And for fantasy basketball purposes, if you have him on your team, you know how much of a steal in the draft he was. He's been playing out of his mind. I mean, the mix of athleticism, size, his build, like his wingspan and length, mixed in with the passion and energy he plays with, makes up for his lack of skill. And even so then, he keeps improving every year. He's making his case for most improved player of the year, at least in the running. And I'm very excited to see where he can go for the future, because I really do like his upside as playing the center. He's going to be really good. But for the Mavericks side, this was just an ugly loss. I mean, Luka got clamped. Kristaps played better, but we all know he's coming off that the meniscus tear, and hopefully he'll get better. But everyone else, if you look at that Mavericks roster, if Tim Hardaway is not hitting his shots, what do the Mavericks really have to rely upon? I mean, think about it. Like, their offense is good. Don't get me wrong. That's a good team. But if you have a capable defender guarding Luka, and let's say Luka has an off night, who is that person they can rely upon? Now, it typically should be Kristaps, but as of right now, you can't because of his injury. He's starting to get back into things, and that scares me. I think they'll be fine come playoff time, but I'm just keeping an eye on that. That's really all I have to say. I mean, it was just an ugly loss and a nice, tough, defensive, gritty win for the Raptors. And the Raptors are starting to turn around, like I said last video. Next, we got the Bulls and the Rockets. The Bulls shot really well today. Victor Oladipo came in for his first debut as the Rockets player. Dropped 32 points. He played pretty well. The Oladipo-Christian Wood duo, though, might be very underrated this season. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team or really contend for anything, I think those two as a duo is going to be very slept on in the NBA. And if they resign Depot and he stays healthy, I don't know. I like that. John Wall did not play this game, so that definitely hurt them. There's not much for me to say about the Rockets. I mean, the Bulls should have won this game, and I want to talk about the Bulls. Like Jesus Christ, the Bulls defense is just atrocious. I mean, I think a lot of people already know this, but like I'm just gonna keep saying, they are so bad defensively, and that's what allows other teams to get back in the games. Like the Bulls were up like 15, and the Rockets would make these little mini comebacks, cut a little bit, and the Bulls would just run it back up. But there was a few times where the Rockets cut it down to single digits, and at the end of the game they cut it down to like 5 and 3. And I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, is this another Bulls choke? And I was so prepared to see Rusty Buckets drop another video on and him all pissed off about the Bulls. And thankfully, Lauri Markkanen hit a clutch 3 to basically seal the game and put them up 6. But I'm just thinking to myself, wow, like the Bulls are so bad defensively. It's just going to be like a Zach LaVine or Lauri Markkanen bailout fest at the end of the game, which it basically was. But Zach LaVine showed up. He played great offensively. But yeah, defensively, that was terrible. I just want to point out, though, Denzel Valentine is not good. Even though he didn't play terrible yesterday, I mean, why is he winning minutes on the floor? Like, I keep hearing these Bulls fans saying he should get at least some minutes over a certain player, A or B, and I'm thinking he's just not that good. Like, he just really can't do anything other than shoot, and even so, then he's not even that great of a shooter anyways. But yeah, the Bulls' poor defense made it a close game. But contributions from a lot of Bulls players also won in the game, from the role players like Thaddeus Young. Wow, I can only think of Thaddeus Young right now. Damn, like Wendell Carter. But they just the role players, if you watch the game, contributed, even though they were very undisciplined on defense. Christian Wood had an amazing game. There's not much for me to say. I mean, it was a Rockets-Bulls game. Like, not two very great defensive teams or good teams for that matter, but a good win for the Bulls nonetheless. They got the dub. Let's move on to the Warriors and the Lakers. So this was another very exciting game. A gutsy win by the Warriors. I think the Lakers took like an 18-point lead, and Curry hit a very clutch 3 at the end. I mean, man's really hit the Curry slide. Everyone on Twitter, on the 2K community, was talking about it. It was so funny. But yeah, Curry hit a clutch 3 in Anthony Davis' eye, put him up 5 for the basically seal a deal. Great win by the Lakers. Kelly Oubre, for as much as people want to talk about how bad he's been shooting, his effort should never be ignored. Now, I'm not saying he's a great defender, and he's an undisciplined defender. He's not the smartest player, but his passion and energy he brings on the floor makes up sometimes for his lackluster performances this year, and that should be given credit for. Kyle Kuzma played all right. I have in my notes. It just basically just came down to, like, LeBron just didn't look to score. He just seemed very passive. Anthony Davis didn't. I mean, actually, Anthony Davis actually played pretty fine. He actually had a pretty good game, but it was just like, I'm just thinking to myself, if LeBron and Anthony Davis just feel like winning this game, they can go ahead and win this game and just turn on the aggression. And I just didn't see that. And I think a lot of times we see that in the regular season with LeBron. And that's why I'm not overreacting. People are going to say, oh my God, the Lakers blew a 17 or 18-point lead. Like, wow, look at them. Look at the Warriors come back. What a great win. Nah, like, everyone just relax, pump the brakes. This happens with LeBron every year. There's plenty of regular season games. He takes off, and everyone's like, well, is he the best player in the league? Or is there a team better than the Lakers? And then every time the playoffs roll around, what happens? LeBron takes over. He's locked in. He's got that energy. So I'm really not concerned about LeBron. I'm not going to be one of those people who overreact to this loss. But I do want to point out, though, that the Warriors, this was a great win for them. Wiseman had 5 fouls and was on the bench a lot of times, but Draymond and Kevin Looney stepped up big. I think everyone knows this, but I think it needs to be reminded. Draymond is an elite playmaker, and no one should forget that. I need to remind everyone how good of a playmaker that man is. The Warriors bench showed up great energy from Brad Wanamaker, Damian Lee, Eric Pascal. Just an overall great win for them. So next we're going to head to the Knicks versus the Magic. This is just going to be a quick one. I only watched like the second half of this. It was just not a great offensive showing by both teams. It was really ugly at times too. Second half though, it came down to free throws. Both teams were missing, but the Knicks were able to win the game. Aaron Gordon almost had a triple double though. Shout out to him, even though it wasn't a great shooting game. Vucevic had a good game. Julius Randle had a solid game. RJ Barrett had a solid game. Just overall, this game was just ugly. I mean, nothing much to talk about. The Magic suck. The Knicks, I mean, possibly could contend for like the 8th seed. I mean, I don't think they're as bad as people might think, but I think it could at least contend. But that was just a quick one. Just an ugly game by two mediocre teams. Yeah. The Grizzlies for Suns we have next. This was a very sloppy game as well, but the Grizzlies are very exciting team to watch if you have not tuned into a Grizzlies game. John Morant is back, and for people who don't actually realize, the Grizzlies are still a good team even when John Morant was out. I think people shouldn't forget that. Devin Booker, I'm a little concerned about this year because he hasn't been the Devin Booker that we all know and remember. And I think it's due to the fact that obviously Chris Paul's there to ease the workload off him, but they are bottom in the league in pace, and I think that's definitely due to Chris Paul getting up there in age, and he just kind of dictates the tempo of the offense, and I think that's affecting Devin Booker, because last year they were a top 5 to 7 team in pace, and I think that's something that needs to be going around. People need to start looking at. He didn't shoot well this game. Dylan Brooks played very great defense on him. I mean, it was just a gritty win by the Grizzlies. I think I've said that word at least 20 times. But, anyways, let's talk about the Grizzlies more. Xavier Tillman looks to be a very solid player, and I like what the Grizzlies have done. Without Jaren Jackson and John Morant, they've still stayed above 500. And think about that. John Morant was hurt for a good chunk of this season so far, and Jaren Jackson's not even back yet. This can be a very solid, scary team, at least in the playoffs, that could potentially make an upset in the first round. So are we just going to ignore the fact that the Grizzlies have gone away from that typical one-and-done college prospect crap? Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you choose best player that you think. I don't really know much about college. I like NBA better. But, I mean, Xavier Tillman, John Morant, Grayson Allen. Who am I missing? I'm missing one more player. But the point is, Brandon Clark. But the point is, they don't look at the 1-year guy. He has the highest potential. Like, they drafted win now guys, and it's translating to a good team. I mean, they're like, people keep writing them off, and they just continue to disprove people. I mean, I know the Suns haven't practiced in about a week due to COVID protocols and stuff like that, but this was just a good overall win. And they just have so much balance in that team. Like, they have, every single game, it seems like they have at least 4 to 5 players just contributing around 10 points per game or double-digit points. I mean, they're like a top 5 team in offensive rebounds and just rebounding in general. And with John Morant being as athletic as he is and just bringing a different dynamic to that team, I think is really good. And I'm so excited to see when they're fully healthy with Jaren Jackson and Justice Winslow, because Justice Winslow, we forget how solid of a secondary ball handler and playmaker he was in that last year of Miami. So I just want to point that out. But that will conclude the set of games on 118. Like I said, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in to Shot Callers Podcast, where we call all the shots, baby. And I'll catch y'all later.